All right, we'll call the meeting order at 7:01 PM. Could I have roll call, please?
Vidka Lawrence.
Here.
John Sarantopoulos.
Here.
Matthew Wendorf.
Here.
Keith Thurlow. Is
Absent with notification.
Michael Huco.
Here.
And Brian Card.
Here. All right, thank you. So we're going to seat Mike Huco as a regular voting member tonight. Congratulations, sir. Yeah. No addendums on the table, correct?
No.
All right. Do we have any citizens' comments on items not subject to the public hearings tonight? Nope, there being none? Okay. Therefore, no commission staff. So we have public hearings. This is online, correct?
Correct.
All right, so if anybody online wants to participate in a public hearing, the public may join the meeting via telephone. To join by phone, please dial 1-415-655-0001 and use the access code 2634-438-2472 when prompted. I'm sure Jonathan will put that in the chat.
I'm sure they got that.
I said
yeah.
Jonathan will put it in the chat. He's good. So we got public hearing, special permit application number 23-1308, Craft Group Big Y Foods, landowner, 70 Waterregan Road. This was continued from 5/15/23 and 6/19/23, and applicant's second request for continuation to August 21st, 2023. The only question I have on it is, are we running up against any regulatory timelines or thresholds that we need?
They're the ones that have requested it, so we gotta take action on August, if he understands that.
Okay, but are we past that day, even though they
No,
requested?
the August hearing will be the 63rd day.
Okay. So, that being said, we don't need to do anything, right? Continue?
Well, you want to vote to continue it?
Vote to continue it? Okay. So
I'll
we'll have
make a motion to continue special permit application 23-1308.
To August 21st, 23, right?
Yep.
Excellent. Second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next, zone text and map change application 23-1310, Town of Killingley, RE, the National Flood Insurance Program, A, Federal Emergency Management, FEMA flood maps, and B, Town of Killingley zoning regs, Section 440 flood hazard districts, and C, Town of Killingley subdivision regulations, Article 4, Section 20 floodplains.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is basically, I'm going to say, as a rubber stamp for what we are required. Right now, we have people in our town that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, and in order to continue that continuation, we have to do these updates. First off, we have to update our maps. And our maps,
Just when you guys aren't talking, if you could mute your mics to prevent feedback.
John, could you?
Thank you.
Okay. The flood insurance maps they really haven't changed. There's no substantial changes. I don't know if you want us to bring the maps up for you. It's just that we have to incorporate them into our zoning maps. So if you want, we can bring them up either up on the computer, or I have paper copies you can look at. But it's all individual.
I have a question or a concern. Having been watching what's going on in Vermont, because I have friends living there, I would love to know what their regulations were and how effective they were in what actually happened to them recently. And so, my concern is that we really don't know, given that climate change is intensifying storms, we don't actually have any sense of what kind of strengthening of the system we need to do to actually respond well to what's coming.
And I totally understand what you're saying. However, these regulations are updates of our regulations to make sure our regulations meet the federal requirements. If our regulations don't meet the federal requirements by September 7th, they'll no longer be able to
I'm not debating that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that, yes, we can go through the motions. However, the entire system might have to up itself a little.
Yeah, and that's well beyond the control of us. So what I'm going to be asking is if, when we go through this, if we take it each by section, the federal emergency management flood maps, Does anybody want to see any of the maps, or do you understand that we just need to incorporate what, they've done the studies, they've done the work. They've had an open house, they just had an open house down in Plainfield for people to go in to see if their maps are there. We have maps on a computer if you want to see them. It would be just too cumbersome for us to try to make everybody copies of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with not seeing them. If anybody in the public wants to pull the maps. Is anybody here for this public hearing that wants to see the flood maps? Everybody shaking, no, we
I
don't.
can pull one up as
Okay.
an example.
Just pull one as example, just so we can show it to the public and those online and the zoning members, council members, whatever we are. What are we again? Commission members, sorry, or something. So, but very good to answer your question, I mean, yeah, so as far as, you know, rainstorms, we're seeing higher intensity rainfalls, and I don't know if FEMA did this in this particular map, but they're using higher intensity rainfalls and they're starting to establish these flood zones.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they did that here.
Yeah.
Because again, not seeing the study, but, you know, we gotta take them for their expertise in establishing the flood zones at this point in time. But I do think over time, you're gonna see them get bigger and bigger, because we're now seeing 500-year storms a lot more frequently, so.
Yeah, if I could just.
Okay, John.
comment. These are built around figures that have been gathered over the years, and they've formed what they refer to as 10-year, 100-year storms and stuff like that, and that's what that's based on. Granted, and I go without saying, I believe that global warming is happening, so eventually the federal government, yes, is gonna have to change these standards, but until they do, this is what we have to adopt to, I mean,
Correct. Yep.
it's as simple as that.
So we got the maps and you got the section 440, right?
Right. But what I would like is just so it makes it simple and clarify for
You want to do
me,
step by step?
to go step by step. So if we could have a motion to adopt the FEMA maps to become part of our zoning maps.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Verga, do we
I'll
have a
second.
second by John? Any discussion? No? Well, first of all, we probably should close the public hearing
Oh,
on
yes,
that piece.
that's what you should do first.
Yeah,
Or for that, well.
before we
it's
get to the
only-
motions,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
So, you're not closing the public hearing. We'll
No.
go through all three sections, then we'll do the motions.
Yes, thank you. So we're
Sorry.
gonna pull
Sorry.
those back, sorry. So that's the map, section 440. Any comments on the section 440 that's in the applicant? I do have a couple, if that's okay. Just on the first paragraph, section 440, right at the bottom where it says, shall also apply to zoning districts following a public hearing concerning such zoning map revisions. Are you suggesting we have a public hearing, or are we just gonna adopt the FEMA maps once go through their public hearing process?
Now, this is our public hearing that we're having
Okay.
right now for this,
That's fine.
so.
And then, item B, you have a typo for flooding. Second line. Be reasonably safe from,
Oh, here we go. Thank you. We'll
Yep.
take care of that.
and then the only other comment I have is in the first paragraph, one of our next public hearings, when it's the borough, flood maps.
Yep.
Their section 3.2 has a better description of what constitutes flood zones on the flood maps as far as descriptors. So I didn't know if we need to incorporate that into the town of Killingly piece of it versus just the borough. So if you flip to 3.2 in the borough section,
Yep.
the last yellow paragraph talks about areas of special flood hazard, include areas shown as zones A, AE, AO, AH. Do we need to reference anything in our?
I'm, had the National Flood Coordinator for the state review all this, and she
Mhm.
was fine with this. What she basically did is took a lot of what you see in the borough and put that into the town of Killingly's ordinance, because they were trying to make it as ordinance.
Okay,
Danielson doesn't have an ordinance per se, it's all through the regulations, so that's why it's in that regulations.
okay, so what we see in the boroughs in our ordinance piece, the count,
Right.
okay, that's all, I just want to make sure.
So we do have one caller on the line, phone number ending in 28860 number. Are you here to make any comment on the FEMA maps?
Nope.
And they hung up. Okay.
Guess not.
Okay.
Okay.
So can you just come to the mic so that they can record you, hear you? Just state your name and address, please.
Nick Weiss, 514 Hartford Pike. I had a question about the maps prior to the FEMA maps, and what does that do to your zoning for building and everything?
So the existing flood maps are from 1985. They're black and white. They don't have elevations called out for the water courses as they run through. They are available online off of FEMA, but we could get you a copy if you're interested in a particular area, if it's near Hartford Pike, as that relates to your area.
Sure.
I could even try to pull up the ones for that area if you'd like to see the updated ones too.
Yeah, that would be great. Can you display it up there, or?
Yeah, just give me a minute.
Yep. As far as the question, answer to your question as far as what does it do to our zoning, I mean, basically, whatever the new maps show, if your any properties within the new flood zone map, they just have to address that particular section and show how they're not going to impact the flood zone. So,
And then while John's doing that,
Yep.
I'll just go over Article 4, Section 20, floodplains. They requested that we add this into our subdivision regulations, because apparently we had nothing in our subdivision regulations that addressed floodplains, so they wanted this whole section. Although it's not highlighted in yellow, I didn't think it needed to be because the whole section's being added. But the section's only 3 or 4 paragraphs.
So why would it only be in subdivision plans instead of every parcel that's being developed?
It's covered in our zoning regulations, but they wanted to have something covered in our subdivision regulations as well.
Okay.
all right, I got one more comment going back to the previous section, since we got a minute here while Jonathan's pulling up. Section D on the back page. Item 3, it just says, so it starts with the commission shall require within this district, and it's item 3, that where the use of fill would result in an increase in flood levels due to reduction in storage capacity, which we don't allow when you go back to the first page, in A. So, again, it's semantics, but I don't know if we just need to strike that section.
Which one are you looking at?
D3, where it says that where the use of fill would result in an increase in flood levels due to reduction in storage capacity. Right, it says you require pilings, blah, 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 but when you go back to A on the front page, it says no filling or other encroachment to take place in floodway, which would, and you read blah, 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 result in any increase in flood levels. All right, so we don't allow any filling whatsoever. And then in the next one, we say, again, no filling, you gotta use pilings or columns. I didn't know if it was duplicitous or, just wanna make sure it doesn't conflict with each other.
So I know it might be hard to see on the screen, so you're welcome to come up here and look, but where you guys are on Hartford Pike is this area, which is not a regulated area at all. So like, if for some reason you had flood insurance now, you wouldn't necessarily be required to carry flood insurance in the future with these new adopted maps. But it's a conversation you have to have with your insurance provider or mortgage holder at that time. So these areas in orange, kind of to Virga's comment, are more reflective of a 500-year storm, but don't hold a regulatory distinction as of right now. But that's something that FEMA is starting to look at and incorporate, along with increase the flood rates per the 100-year storm, even the 25-year. The volumes are much higher than what they were in the past in figuring these areas. So,
Oh, yeah, I have friends that live in southern Vermont, so yes, I've noticed that.
but anywhere where you see like these numbers, like kind of like a cross-section number, like 237.1, that's the floodplain or the level of the water in that area. Previously, we would just have a shape on the map, and you would have to hire an engineer to go out and do testing and to determine with either a LOMA or something where the flood level is as it compares to your proposed building or where it is currently. So it was a process. It was very cumbersome. This helps hopefully streamline that process a little bit. Surprisingly, in Connecticut, we were the first area to get these updated maps, and it's working the other way. So that's like the first time that's happened for like.
What do you
anything.
mean working the other way?
Well, typically it goes Hartford and the other side of the state back this way, and we get stuff 20 years later. We're getting it first in this case, so it's working here. So
Oh, we
you're-
must have friends in high places.
You're going to see it slowly go back the other way.
Brian, in response to your question, it does say in letter A on the front page, no filling or other encroachment, discharge waters, except where, and then it goes into a list, and then it says plans for all filling or
Mhm.
other encroachment and for all stream improvements shall be submitted to zoning enforcement officer and town engineer for approval. So I
Okay.
don't believe that those two are in conflict with each other.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions on any one of the three? Nope, any other public comments on any one of the three? That being said,
So going back to the federal emergency management flood maps.
nope, we got to close the public hearing. Come
Oh,
back to
that's
this later, right?
Sorry.
All right, can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
You got it.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Anyone?
And you beat me to it.
Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. All right, let's put that aside. Moving on. Public hearing for zone text and map change number 23-1311, Borough of Danielson, RE National Flood Insurance Program. A, Federal Emergency Management Flood Maps. B, the Borough of Danielson zoning regs, Section 1, Flood Damage Prevention Regulations, and Section 460, Flood Hazard District.
Again, you're going to be incorporating or adopting or approving 3 separate items. You're going to be improving the updated flood maps for the Borough of Danielson. Then there's Borough of Danielson zoning regulations. And then there is Section 460 Flood Hazard District, 460.1 General Requirements.
Yep. And you had one comment you wanted us to talk about on page 5, the blue, the 1 year.
Yes, there's a time frame that you were supposed to be able to choose. On page 5 of 18, you can either go taking place within 1 year, or you can say taking place within the lifetime of the structure. So you can go from the very beginning all the way through the lifetime of the structure. If anything changes, what is a substantial change, or you can do for any amount of time frame in between. They said people have done as low as 1 year, but most people are doing it for or closer to more longer period of time.
What's the year reference to? Because I couldn't figure that out.
What year are you talking about? Right.
Right, but it's within 1 year period of, so
The-
substantial
within a 1 year
improvement within a 1 year
period.
period, from a permit issuance, from a flood, from,
The whole, from when the
the
structure
rules.
itself, from what I understand, is from when the structure. The time frame can range from 1 year low end.
I'm just
so far as
confused on what the 1
structure.
year reference is. I just want to make sure I understand. Go ahead, yep.
I didn't want to talk out of turn. So I worked in a community where it was a historic downtown, and with the, if we didn't have the 1 year improvement, so you can make up to 49% of the value of the building in capital improvements. And if you went over that 49% improvement, say you wanted to do a roof and electrical, and it exceeded the value of the building, you couldn't improve the building any further without going through 100% of the flood regulations. So it stymied development in older structures, or, for example, a mill structure that would be close in proximity to a floodplain. So by setting the standard lower, you have that opportunity to make more capital improvements on a structure without having to comply to floodplain regulations.
Yep.
Did I explain that to make sense?
Yes.
It's sort of ignoring the reason for the regulations. I mean, You know, if they're telling you that, look, if you don't exceed that 1 year, because of course, you're putting the whole facility at risk if you go beyond the 50% improvement.
So for example, we had a building that had 144,000 square feet, and 10 feet on one section was in the floodplain. So by having an extended statute of like a 4-year or a 5-year or a 20-year, they could only put up to 49% of the improvement on the building, which stalled the rest of the development for the whole block on that building. So it's not that they're ignoring the regulations. It has to do sometimes with historic structures that are in locations that were built around waterways.
Built around waterways before there were regulations protecting, you know, investors or the public or whatever from the hazards that, you know, they're designed to protect. So, you know, I'm sure you should take a look up north and you know, in Vermont where all this flooding took place, a lot of places up there were probably renovated and they met the regulations at that time, and today they're no longer there. I mean, maybe it makes sense to prohibit certain structures from being rehabilitated if they're at risk in a prone area for flooding. You know, I can understand the investor probably doesn't like it, because they'd like to get in and do whatever they're gonna do.
Yep, sorry to cut you off, John, so I understand that point, but so again, just to make, so this is, they can do alterations up to 49%, and then 1 year later, they can come back and do more alterations. Up to, again, new assessed value up to 49%, so they can continue doing it without having to comply fully, potentially with these rules and regulations for flood hazards, so.
Correct.
In your particular example, it's a building that's got a very small percentage in it, but to John's point, if you've got a building that's within the flood zone, or part, you know, 75% of the flood zone, we're gonna let them do alterations without having to comply with the rules. 1 year, and then potentially come back and keep continuing, potentially putting it at risk, so it's a balancing. I didn't see anything in here that puts any limit of that building, like percent-wise, if the building's greater than 50% in the flood zone, then you gotta do certain things. I mean, so I don't know if we wanna come back and visit that later. I know we need to adopt these things
Yeah.
and get them put into the rules, but that brings up a
Well,
valid
there's
point.
nothing here that says that you can't adopt as is and then put it on our agenda to maybe revise or look at a particular section, and I can go to the state coordinator again and say, these are some of the questions that you came back with, how has it been dealt with in other towns?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, but I just wanna know what the 1 year meant. So the 1 year basically means you can do upgrades up to 49%, and then 1 year later, you can do additional upgrades
Right.
on a building. So the point there is to continue with potential rehabilitation, development of structures, so. Just wanna make sure everybody understood what the 1 year was, and if we're okay with the 1 year. So. Any comments, discussions on the 1 year, or?
I mean, it seems like an easy way to like get around doing improvement. I mean, get around having to meet regulations for improvements, because at that point, I could see whomever is developing the property would limit exactly at 49% to just do a continued, you know, whatever it may be, over the course of, you know, maybe it's 5 years or something like that. That would normally have fallen under something that would make them comply, which is,
Right.
you know, this I would imagine is in place for the you know, health, safety, and well-being of the occupants of the space.
Mhm.
So this is a kind of a way to skirt around the, you know, that point. So from that perspective, I would say that I think that it might need to be something where it's a case-by-case basis that can be proven to the commission members that it does indeed, you know, it would benefit the owner and the inhabitants because of the limited impact it would have, or the limited impact of the flood zone on the building versus it being entirely in the flood zone. It might be something where we have to review it in that
So in the
capacity.
case of someone who already owns a parcel and say they need to put in a roof structure, electrical, it creates an undue hardship. So Norwich, the whole city is in a floodway. So it would stymie any sort of improvement or development for a whole community and a hardship. So those are the kind of decisions that get made with setting that time frame.
Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah, this is a very common one, like in coastal areas in particular. But you think of either a needed repair, like a roof, the value of which could exceed, depending on the condition of the house, could exceed 50% of the total value. If we're talking a more economically lower area, or it could be something as simple as doing something internal, like I'm going to renovate my kitchen and put a $100,000, $200,000 kitchen in there. Well, that might exceed 50% of the value. You're talking about properties that are, for the most part, legal non-conforming, already exist. They're in the floodplain. They're already paying for flood insurance yearly, which is a high cost. If they're kind of choosing to make that investment into their property to try to keep it up and keep it livable for them, they are taking on their own risk, and that's kind of a known factor with the floodplain aspect to it. So this gives them a provision to still enjoy their property without necessarily making it uninhabitable, where they would have to lift the property, which you saw after a lot of the hurricanes. A lot of the properties, when they got rebuilt, they had to go much higher, or just because they wanted to change out some bathroom fixtures and maybe exceeded 50%. So it gives them like a little window. There's always floodplain regulations, particularly in coastal areas, have always had some weird provisions. I've heard it brought up before, where you keep one wall up and you can take down the whole house and you can rebuild because you've kept the structure there, and then you come back with your next permit the next year and they renovate that other half of the house. There's always been kind of language like that, but it's definitely endorsed by the Fed in terms of the language they're putting out there for these model regulations. But to John's point, yeah, they're definitely it's a loophole the way it's written.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is, I'm okay with the 1 year. I just think we just want to go back and revisit, just ask the question of our flood expert who knows the rules, and just make sure we're not missing something, or if there's something else we can put in there. And I'm thinking not so much the homeowner who's already taking that risk, but again, I'm thinking not so much to stop redevelopment, but the large commercial developers that are putting money into a project. Do we want them to not skip some essential potentially benefits they could do to the property? But, any other comments, questions? Is there any consensus to stay with the one, as Keith would say? Or do we want to modify it for now? Leave it one, come back, modify it later? Do you want to?
I like that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should probably revisit it. I
agree with
I
that.
understand the 1 year, but I don't know, just thinking about, I'm not saying that we would never grant it to be 1 year or something like that if it was a reasonable, request that was submitted, right? But
Yeah, but if to go less than one, we'd have to put some sort of variance request in these rules, and that's not in here right now. It's because it's in the definition. So, Berger?
Well, I think that the world out there is changing, and we need to pay attention.
So I'll take that as the one's good for now. John?
I mean, I was just really disturbed. I have friends that live in southern Vermont, and I've just been watching, towns.
We've got a whole city in this country, New Orleans.
Let's
That's underwater.
stick to
You know?
Killingley. Let's stick to Killingley for a
Right.
second. In this rule.
Can I just say something? We just had a sidebar discussion over here, and, excuse me. You also have to be careful in the time frame that you do it, because landowners have particular rights to improve their land, to be able to do the use of their land in a proper manner. And we don't want to come close to that line of it being a taking or whatever. So I would say staff recommends stay with 1 year for now. I'll talk back to the NFIP state coordinator and see how they have dealt with it in other communities.
Yep. Yeah, again, I just want to make sure we all knew what the 1 year was, so that's where we started. But all right, any other comments, questions on this reg? The only other comment I have is where you have the definitions, where it's the following is not optional, recommended. We're recommending we keep the definitions.
Yes,
Correct.
we are.
So I assume we're going to take out the language that says this is optional?
Yes, any place that has a note, the note will be gone.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Before you close the public hearing, is anyone on the call that wants to speak towards the borough flood insurance mapping adoption and regulations? Hearing no one.
Nope. And was there any comments on section 460 for the Borough of Danielson? Flood hazard district? Nope. Any public? Want to speak to flood? Nope. Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion made.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, it's closed. Number 4, zone text change application 23-1315, Town of Killingly zone text change to add more definitions of uses, et cetera, to the Town of Killingly zoning regs. Article 3 definitions, section 310. All right. You guys went through these in great detail last meeting. All right.
They did, Jonathan, why don't you take it, because you did it.
So these definitions are kind of building off of our workshops and different looks that we've had, particularly in regards to the business park, but kind of scaling back just to the overall definitions. We took in comments not only from commission members, staff, and legal, and even members of the public. We went through here. There are a few items that had some changes that were somewhat newer based off the comments from the commission last month, to go through here and just kind of double check to make sure that we weren't eliminating or changing an existing definition to really potentially undermine or have some negative impact. Some examples would be like the definition for license, for instance, is not only referring to a real estate agent license, so fixing that definition. We did add in some definitions referencing to wetlands and to upland review because they are mentioned in the text, even though this isn't the wetlands regulations, it's the Town of Killingly zoning, so it's better defined, it matches up, and just attempting to eliminate any question or room for lack of interpretation in the future as the board, commission, and staff change in the future, setting good definitions throughout. So in total, it's 21 pages. Everything that is in blue is the new proposed regulation. Anything that is crossed out in black that follows that would be the existing definition to be removed. If there is a blue definition and nothing crossed out after it, then it is completely new definition.
Any comments, questions on the final edits in the package?
Yeah, I have it way back here,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Nope. Anybody from the public want to speak to this section? Nope. I'll try to get closer to the mic. Sorry. So,
Is there anybody on the call that wants to speak to this application reviewing the definitions, proposed updated definitions? Hearing none.
nope. All right. Going once, going twice. Nice work by the staff. So, thank you for taking quite a few of my edits, comments into consideration. So, I had a few. All right. That being said, could we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Berger. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Matt. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's closed. Okay. All right. special permit application 23-1314, CPD Killingly LLC, Dominic Carpianato, Nicholas Ganaris et al., and George Reichart et al., 536, 542, and 552 Hartford Pike. 536 JS map 114, lot 39, 0.95 acres, village commercial. 542 is GIS map 114, lot 40, 0.34 acres, village commercial. And 552 is GIS map 114, lot 41, 0.64 acres, village commercial. For the construction of a 12,580 plus or minus square foot commercial building with drive-through and associated site improvements. I assume we have an applicant.
The applicant is joining us by WebEx.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the commission. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Great, wonderful. Thank you. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 501 Main Street in Monroe, Connecticut. Apologize I couldn't be there in person this evening. I actually just got back from vacation yesterday, so I've just been dealing with a bunch of things, but very excited to be with you here this evening to talk about the proposed application at 536, 542, and 552 Hartford Pike. I'm going to share my screen. I got a little presentation. Wonderful. Okay. So again, so we're here tonight to talk about the proposed application at 536, 542, 552 Hartford Pike. I will say just to start, we did receive some engineering comments just this afternoon. We had a chance to review those. We'll be able to provide comprehensive responses to those and provide revised materials to the commission. So we wouldn't expect this hearing to be closed this evening, but obviously we still want to give you a big presentation to talk about what we're proposing and solicit any more comments or feedback the commission may have. So the site itself is located at, as I mentioned, Hartford Pike. It's currently comprised of 3 parcels totaling just under 2 acres, 1.87 acres. What we're proposing is the construction of a 12,740 square foot facility. The project will be comprised of 5 tenants, a dental office, a urgent care, and then 3 restaurant spaces. Access to the site is provided, we're proposing access to the site to be provided via a unsignalized driveway on Hartford Pike, a right-out only driveway onto Hartford Pike, and then we are proposing to provide access through the park property to our north, which will provide us access to the signalized intersection at Town Farm Road. Just to give the commission some understanding, we've actually been working with staff and town council for several months as part of that proposed access through the park. What we would be proposing is to provide an access easement or pursue an access easement from the town over that town-owned property. As part of that access easement, the developer is proposing to take over all maintenance obligations associated with that roadway and all repair, restoration, improvements associated with the portion of the access we are proposing to construct, and the balance of the driveway that extends out towards Town Farm Road in this location here. The site itself provides a total of 66 parking spaces. Based on town parking requirements and ITD requirements, we're required to provide 63, so we are able to demonstrate compliance with parking. One of the things we really wanted to focus on when we looked at this development was really ensuring that we provided really good pedestrian connectivity. So one of the things we have is extensive crosswalks and sidewalks throughout our property itself, but then also sidewalks along our proposed driveway through the park, and then some additional crosswalks, striping, and signage within that driveway to make sure that there's very clear paths for pedestrians. I think this is going to be a great addition, and with the proximity to the park, will create a lot of really good food alternatives and options for residents when they're visiting the park. We designed the site to allow for identified snow storage areas on the site plan. Trash is located towards the rear of the property in this location here, and that is fully enclosed with a screened both landscaping and a screen fence as well. And within the parking lot, we've actually designed 3 different accordance with some of the upgrades to the building code recently, we've also provided for, what? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. We've also provided EV charging capable spaces in accordance with some of the requirements from the building code. And those are located along the easterly side of the site in this location here. So included in your package is a comprehensive set of detailed site design drawings, obviously our site plan, which I just reviewed a lot of the site-related components. We've also included some truck turning figures which demonstrate how vehicles would be able to navigate the site, circulate around, and make sure that we wouldn't have any impacts with vehicle or turning movements. And those are actually some of the comments that we received from staff that will further review with the town engineer. From a grading and drainage standpoint, our site's been designed in accordance with the 2004 Stormwater Quality Manual as provided by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. The site's designed to ensure that we're actually decreasing the rate of runoff for all storm events. We have a series of catch basins to collect on-site stormwater, which will then be routed into hydrodynamic separators to provide additional water quality treatment measures. And then it'll be discharged into two above-ground detention basins, which will provide for that stormwater attenuation and detention to meet the goals of the stormwater design manuals. Additionally, there's actually a pipe which runs through the property today, which conveys stormwater from Owen Park. We're actually going to be collecting that and rerouting that around the proposed building footprint. Additionally, that actually stormwater is conveyed through the property without actually appropriate easements. So as part of our easement mapping, we're preparing to provide adequate easement rights for that drainage to continue to convey through the subject properties. From a soil erosion sediment control standpoint, we've designed our SEC plans in two phases, both of which are in accordance with the 2002 Soil Erosion Sediment Control Manual. The first plan just essentially shows the site clearing and removal of existing structures, the construction of some sedimentation basins, and then the phase 2 shows and identifies the specific measures needed to construct the proposed facility. There were some comments from engineering regarding these, again, which we'll be able to address as part of our formal response. From a utility standpoint, all of our utilities are proposed to be below ground. We will be connecting into an existing sewer line on the Owen Park property. That will be covered as part of our easements that we've been working with staff and council with. Electric will be served and other utilities will be served from Hartford Pike, and then we are proposing water connection along Hartford Pike. All of our proposed activities, driveways, utility connections will be reviewed and approved by obviously local WPCA, but also the Department of Transportation for any work within the state right of way on Hartford Pike. So we've actually initiated some discussions with the DOT and we'll be working through their enforcement permit process as the project progresses through the local permitting process. From a landscape standpoint, we've included a comprehensive landscape plan where we're proposing, we believe, a very robust landscape plan. We've created some really nice areas, within the parking lot to provide some shade trees and some other grasses. And we also have some plantings around the base of the foundation, both towards the rear and along the side of the drive-through to provide some additional color and texture, plantings texture in accordance with the basins will also be seeded, and we have some additional plantings throughout the site, which we think will be a really nice aesthetic. We provided a lighting plan, which the majority of the site will be lit from wall-mounted light fixtures. We do have a few fixtures within the parking lot, and all lighting is designed to be fully dark sky compliant. So those are all LED fixtures with recessed lights so that it reduces glare and to minimize any potential spillage of light beyond the limits of the property line. We've also proposed two small fixtures along the proposed driveway through Owen Park just to ensure there's adequate light from a safety standpoint through that area as well. As part of our submission materials, we have submitted a comprehensive traffic report. As part of our analysis, we actually analyzed 8 intersections. Putnam Pike with and then Upper Maple Street. We also analyzed, obviously our proposed driveways on Hartford Pike. So what we do when we look at the traffic studies, we want to really understand how the existing roadway network operates today. So we went and looked for available counts and conducted new counts where needed to understand how the existing traffic operates and flows through this area. We then utilized trip generation rates provided by the Institute of Transportation Engineers and approved by the Department of Transportation to determine how many trips we generate from our proposed facility. We then place those trips onto the network based on existing traffic patterns and where we believe our customers will be coming from and going from. One of the main reasons for the proposed access through the park is that, obviously, Hartford Pike is a congested roadway, and we needed to ensure that we had adequate access from a safety standpoint, and access to that signal on Town Farm Road was a critical aspect of the proposed development in order to really make traffic operations work and flow safely. So we then look at how our proposed trips will be put on the network, and then we do an analysis to understand exactly how those intersections will operate, and we have to ensure that they will maintain acceptable levels of service. And thankfully, once we looked at our distribution and our assignment, we are able to determine that the existing roadway infrastructure can accommodate the proposed development. And again, actually, as part of our process and review with the Department of Transportation, through the approval permit process, they will also be reviewing our proposed application, and providing review and comments as opposed to any of the work that we proposed right away. So we do believe that we'll be able to address some of the concerns regarding traffic, because obviously it's critically important that we're able to create a facility that people can come and go from, or it will affect how it operates. So we've also included proposed floor plans. Again, this just demonstrates the tenant breakdown. We've included architectural elevations in our package, and we have a proposed signage rendering, a pylon sign, which we do believe complies with the zoning regulations. We've also included some perspective renderings of the proposed facility. And again, we think this will be a really great addition to the community. And you can see, you can kind of see on this rendering in this perspective some of the outdoor patio areas, which will be fenced off and protected, with some of the landscaping proposed throughout the site. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. And again, we obviously assume that this hearing will stay open. I believe we are looking to continue to work with town council to secure the rights associated with the proposed easement through Owenville Park. I think those meetings may be both in August and September, so we would assume to come back before this commission once we're able to respond to the comments we received today, and obviously any other discussion that comes up as part of this meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
All right, thank you, sir. Commission members?
I got a few, so,
Go ahead, Mike.
well,
Just make sure, because he's online, make sure you're close to your mic so he can hear you.
I agree. I'd like to, I had the same ones that the town engineer had on 6, 7, and 8, the demonstration. Directional signal needed to be added on the town farm. The demonstrate how the safety pedestrian crossing and the turning radius for the emergency vehicles. Also, was there any thought across Hartford Pike as far as pedestrian marking a crossway there? Because people now, they not necessarily will go up to the traffic light, especially if, Owen Bell High Street, they'll cut across right in front of the plaza. So then I didn't know if there was any thought putting some kind of crosswalk into that area.
Well, we from a safety standpoint, we really want to encourage the pedestrian activity and movements to happen at the signal, where we can really provide that safe passage. We hadn't actually looked at potentially like a mid-block, almost kind of across the street here, but it's certainly something we can review to see if that's something we can incorporate and maybe review with DOT. But I think we generally want to try to encourage those movements to happen at the signalized intersection.
I understand that, and you also wanted to have people pull a right-hand turn coming out of that lot on the west side of the entrance. And I can tell you from past history, both at the Dunkin' Donuts Shell area and Killen Commons, people will turn into that area from Hartford Pike. So I just think it should be beneficial for the people. You know, there'll be people crossing, especially kids that go down into the park. I mean, down into the Killen Commons that will cross that area. And people on High Street. High Street's right across the street from there, so it's just a thought to look into that.
No, we appreciate the feedback, and we'll certainly explore that a little bit further.
Is there any thought on sprinkling the building?
Obviously, we obviously need to comply with, building code. Double check.
I didn't see nothing.
That's not part of, that's the purview of the fire marshal to the building code and the fire code, not so much this planning and zoning
Okay.
commission. But the fire marshal did look at these plans, and he says he is waiting for the sprinkler system to come through. But they're not gonna have that available till they come for a building permit.
Oh, okay. And they gotta mark off the Knox box area.
Correct, yeah, and generally those are, generally handled during the building permit process, but we will certainly comply with any requirements from the building official.
Construction time frame, hours of operation.
Well, I mean, we generally look for, normal construction hours, which, primarily start at 7 a.m., roughly to 5 p.m., sometimes 6 p.m. We are hoping to, obviously we have to proceed through this commission and then the town council, but we're hoping to potentially start this fall with the initial site clearing.
The tenant 3, the aggression in the back. I don't see one back there. I see the utility room. I'm hoping we're not going through there.
No.
Staff told him that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually, it was just, coordinating with the architects, we needed to get some updated elevations. I believe this actually shows, this is an updated elevation. You can see in the center here, tenant 3, there's an independent door
Okay.
from the utility room.
And there, all the utilities are going through there.
Correct.
How big is that sign in front?
We believe, based on our review of the zoning regs, it does comply with the regs, but we're
Okay.
certainly working with our architect to ensure that we comply with the zoning regulations.
And I don't know if that's a misprint, but on the last couple pages, the tenant 4 and 5. Tenant, one shows tenant 5, there's part of tenant 4 behind it. Right there, on the bottom one?
Oh, yeah, here, I think that's just an architectural.
Okay.
I think that's just-
That's what I was assuming, because all the other ones show the regular buildings.
Yeah, this entire, end of this facility is all tenant 5.
I think that's it for now.
All right, thanks, Mike.
With this building going in, are there systems that have been identified for mechanical units and potentially units that are set on the roof or on grade that could potentially have some sort of noise impact on the surrounding neighborhood?
We would propose to have rooftop units rather than ground-mounted units for the individual heating and cooling elements. A lot of the units these days are, that noise consideration is something that's kind of built into a lot of the product selections. So we want to ensure that we won't have any, noise issues to any of the surrounding properties.
Okay, and just on landscaping and screening, I don't know if there's some existing trees that are potentially remaining to the, what is that, plan west of the retention pond? Right at the property line there. I don't know if there's existing trees that are not being removed that are not on the property. But I do think that it would probably be important, especially for the abutting neighbor, that there be some additional screening added in there, as there's going to be a substantial increase in traffic flow, headlights of cars coming around the drive-through area that's being proposed. That sort of thing, I think, is important for them, as well as, to maintain, the scenic nature of the area.
Okay, yeah, we obviously want to maintain as much existing vegetation as we can, especially some of those mature trees along those property lines. But we can certainly look to see if we can also add some additional back in.
I think that's all I have at the moment.
Yeah, just following up on that though, if you do change your landscaping and you're gonna try to keep trees, just double check your note, because I think your note says you're gonna clear and grub everything to the silt fence line, which is pretty much the property line, or pretty darn close.
Yeah, we'll revisit that, see if we can make some adjustments to provide a little bit of an existing buffer. We do have, some grading, that needs to take place, so we want to make sure that we're able to, provide the stormwater detention areas that are needed, and also not create, root damage that may, impact potential health of trees. But I'm sure we'll be able to maintain some of that existing vegetation and supplement as needed.
I do have one thing, actually, Brian. On sheet 2.31, note 3 under the phase 1 construction sequence, it just identifies to prepare temporary parking and storage areas. So I see that there is proposed stockpile areas, but I don't see anything that's indicating parking or proposed parking or temporary parking throughout construction, and didn't know if it was going to be within the site or on the street.
It would be fully contained within the site. I can go back to that plan. We can certainly label it, but essentially it'll be behind the existing home in this location generally here. If you guys can see that.
Yep.
But we can certainly add that to the SEC plan so it's clearly shown.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
That's it, Matt, for now? Berg, anything? Or John, anything? Either one?
Yes, I have one thing. You've mentioned that you want to get pedestrians over to that signal light where there's a crossing. Yeah, you don't have a sidewalk on your side of the street. They'd be walking on the street in order to get over to that light.
So we have a sidewalk through the proposed easement area at Owen Bell Park, and then from there's a sidewalk through the park adjacent to this parking area, and then that connects directly to the crosswalk at the existing signal.
I don't know how many people would take that route,
Through here.
That's an awful long way around.
Yeah, one of the comments I was gonna have is I think majority of people, if they are gonna use it, probably park in the parking lot for the Owen Bell Park and come across. I was gonna suggest, I don't know if that you can get a sidewalk. I don't know if that property, that grass property is town property or not, but a sidewalk from the parking lot straight down to the driveway versus making them walk all the way to the east and then around again.
Well, we can certainly pursue it. There's another parcel, there's an existing bank parcel kind of in between that we don't really have rights
Yeah, I'm talking about the parking lot to the north.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can probably certainly look to see if we can add some additional sidewalk connectivity up here. But there are some grades that we have to contend with a little bit, but we'll certainly evaluate to see what we can accommodate there.
Anything else, John?
Just looking at that plan, I would be assured that people coming out of, there's a couple of pizza houses that are scheduled to be in that facility. They're gonna walk right across that grass area and end up crossing 101 right at that point, unless there's sidewalks there that would accommodate them over to the light. where there's a crossing. I mean, that's an accident looking to happen.
Can you, oh, sorry, Parker, go ahead. Anything? Nope. Can you talk a little bit about your traffic flow inside the parking lot? I know at least on sheet 211, you identify some of the traffic flow patterns, but you didn't put any arrows on the eastern side or the southern side. Do you expect that parking lot to be two-way traffic?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, so, you know, I think, you know, we'll have a large preponderance of traffic. We'll utilize the entrance through Town Farm Road. This driveway, the easterly driveway on Hartford Pike, we are proposing this to be full movement, unsignalized, which will really kind of only be used when the traffic volumes along the pike are low enough where you know those movements can be made. So we are proposing two-way traffic through the lot to the east of the building, and then two-way traffic along the front of the building. The drive-through, proposed drive-through queue is sufficient and provides adequate vehicular storage, which can be accessed by either coming from the pike through the parking lot to enter here, or coming through the access through the park. We have a full escape lane for that, and then to the western side of the site, this is obviously two-way traffic to accommodate these parking spaces, but then it's a right out only onto Hartford Pike, for this westerly-most driveway egress.
Okay, yeah, if you could just mark that a little bit clearer on your drawing for us.
Sure.
Couple of the comments on traffic flows. I did see kind of the overlap, and the engineer addressed it too with the fire engine traffic pattern you showed on was it 2-1, the next drawing? Yeah, whatever, it was 2-1-2. I had the same question as far as the truck size and vehicle size you use for traffic flow. If you can
Yep.
just, address that for the next meeting, a little additional detail.
We will. Happy to.
Also with the dumpster access, if you can look at that as well. If, depending on what time his dumpster service is, there's very tight access there for that type of vehicle that's gonna access that. They may
Yeah,
have.
generally those would be emptied, off hours, so it wouldn't conflict with the heavy use of the drive-through.
No,
Understood.
understood, but it's still tight to the corner of the building, for them to
Mhm.
come straight onto the dumpster, so you just wanna verify that.
Sure.
That they can access it with that angle that you have there.
Yeah.
You didn't talk a little bit about the hours of operations, for these particular facilities. I don't know if that was something you were gonna address later.
Well, generally speaking, we don't, if there's no prohibition, we don't want to preclude hours of operation. Generally speaking, a lot of these users, they're going to operate based on what the community, determines. But generally speaking, most likely these facilities will be closed by 10 p.m.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I'm just thinking about the neighborhood impacts, to the west. So, as an issue. A little bit about construction. I didn't see it, again, small print, but was there a cut fill balance or cut fill number on your drawings? Anything being exported off the property or imported?
Usually, that may not have been on the plan. It may have been in our engineering report.
We didn't get an engineering report, did we? We got stormwater report and traffic report.
Yeah. It's usually we include a provision in our engineering report. I think the site may be we generally try to design the site to be as balanced as possible. We do have some constraints from a existing condition and existing grade standpoint. I don't see those calculations in our report, but we'll certainly provide that for you guys in advance of the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, just want to make sure, to go through the rules, make sure we just hit all the site plan requirements that are in the rules. Any other comments from commission before we go to public hearing, public comments? We can always come back.
I just had a question did someone have something online? No. I had a question regarding how the traffic study was calculated. Was the assumption that the majority of the traffic is going to be entering through Town Farm Road, through the back access into these, or a combination thereof with the entrance directly off of 101?
Really a combination thereof. Generally speaking, we actually have, I don't have the In our traffic report, figure 3 is our proposed trip distribution. So we'd actually envision, it's really the Owen Bell Park access is primarily to accommodate the exiting vehicles, especially those who want to continue turn left onto Route 101. So we have, I think roughly 5% coming in from there, but then 35% leaving through Owen Bell Park. I think everybody else primarily would be able to access the site, turning right into the driveway or turning left, once there's adequate gaps in traffic to turn left into the facility from Hartford Pike.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because being a resident of the town, I feel I would never enter through that if there was access directly onto 101. So I just wanted to make sure that the calculation wasn't done with 50% of the access through that road because I just don't think that would be a reasonable percentage to.
Of course, yeah, we had 5% coming in through this driveway. Everything else was coming right off of Route 101.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
The last thing, and Anne Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my rules are correct in my book. As far as our village commercial rules, there's section 420.1.3 talks about parking. And it talks about no parking should be in the front of the building unless waived by the commission or, conditions dictate otherwise that you need that parking in the front. If you do, you'd have to have the additional landscaping. So can you talk through that, please, as to the layout?
Sure, of course. So we met with, we obviously met with staff and we looked at what some of those provisions. We actually had some other layouts that had, the parking towards the rear. And I believe in our initial submission materials, we did formally request that consideration from the commission to allow for parking in front. As we kind of looked at access and, the site constraints and how we were going to be able to manage the operations, this really ended up becoming in our minds, the preferred layout, which did provide that parking in front. We did try to supplement our landscape plan accordingly, but we are formally requesting the commission's consideration with that waiver request.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public would like to speak on the application or any questions, comments?
Yes, I would.
Good, we have online. If you can just hold on, Jonathan, you want online first or in person?
Get the one person online and then go to Mr. Weiss.
Okay, Mr. Weiss, is that okay? We'll do the one person online right now? Then you can sit, sir. Yep. Okay, Jonathan, do you want to get the one person online? I can't see it on the screen. I don't know who it is.
I think they're just called in, but yeah.
I'm hard of hearing anyhow, so a lot of this I've missed.
All right, one second, Mr. Weiss. Yeah.
Yeah, so the one person online, if we could just get your, that called in, could we just get your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Jordan Charles, 542 Hartford Pike.
Okay, Jordan, go ahead.
I was just wondering if the board would consider, if this happens, I'd be pretty much homeless. I mean, I don't know if anybody's talked about who lives on the property yet, but that's obviously my concern, and obviously the traffic concern as a citizen of this town. If one train comes in the middle of a good day, that could back up all the way from here to T-Mobile. It's just not a good idea in the long run. I mean, you know what I mean? I just thought I'd throw my concern in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine, Jordan. And then just for the record, so 542, so you're a tenant of one of the properties that's being proposed to be developed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Anything else, Mr. Charles?
I mean, that's pretty much it.
All right, thank
I
you.
just wonder what the families would do if this happened. Not just the restaurants that are supposedly coming in. What about the families that would have to move?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you for the comment, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Just make sure the green light's on for us in front.
Okay. The bottom line is this is too much density on that size lot. Furthermore, the the schematic of Thomas Sale's property, the larger of the properties, that goes all the way up to the grammar school. Okay?
Let me interject. I have maps here that I'd like to present, so you can get an idea of the impact that it would have on the Weiss family property. So I'd like to hand these out.
Yep, and ma'am, just for the record, one more time so she can get it, just the name and address.
Yeah.
So
Kathleen
she has it.
Weiss.
Yep.
And that would be 526 Hartford Pike, 514 Hartford Pike, 511 Hartford Pike, 504 Hartford Pike.
She just needs the one you live at, not all the ones you own.
Just so you get an idea
Yes.
of where we're coming from here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that one.
Albert Weiss. Okay, furthermore, nobody's mentioned this, I think, so far. There was a arsonist that burned down the carriage house, which was used to store all types of vehicles, and it was rebuilt. It's an 1800 structure that was burned by somebody intentionally. Right now, we get a tremendous amount of traffic from Holmdel Park. Like the other night when they had the fireworks, that lasted until midnight, okay, before everybody was finished crossing our property, and, you had to be there to supervise what was going on. And there had to be, I've never seen such a turnout for an event, and it was handled a lot better than they have in the past as far as the town goes. But the problem is, as the people are left behind, they're all over the property. And we have a tremendous amount of vandalism that's occurring. Now, 1618 Pleasant Street, okay, is an acquisition that we've made. And 12 Pleasant Street, there's no electricity going into that building. We have to put a new service on that. They bought these utilities a couple of years ago when a hurricane came through, knocked out the transformer. They would not hook it up again until we upgraded the service, which we did on the corner, the day house, okay, which always requires, some of these buildings were empty for years. Basically, the renovations that were done to make them usable, was acceptable 20, 30 years ago, is not acceptable today. The other issue is lead-based paint. We're in the process right now of painting all the buildings on the exterior. Any of the interior work that has to be done eliminates the possibility, but we don't have a lot of kids because of the traffic on 101 now. Okay, it's impossible really to go out of the driveway on 101 and not risking your life, because they're coming down the road about 60 miles an hour, and it should be a 30-mile-an-hour zone.
I would like to speak to that. The big issue in my mind is the safety issue on 101. There are trailer trucks that barrel down that stretch of 101 at 50, 60 miles an hour. We sometimes have to sit at the bottom of the driveway for 10 minutes before we can get out safely. Between High Street and Pleasant Street, that stretch has narrowed. In fact, where the proposed construction is right where 101 narrows from where the 4 lanes exist by the Killingly Commons. All of a sudden, you're back down to the 2 lanes, which creates a real problem for people entering and exiting. Now, how they can verify that anybody is going to exit or enter through Town Farm Road as opposed to 101, there's no way that they can ensure that. And especially, what's very disheartening to me is a dental office or an urgent care, we could live with. 3 restaurant spaces where people are coming and going, and especially if it's a pizza place, you're gonna have people running in, coming out, exiting whichever way is convenient for them, not necessarily the way that, the owners want them to exit. But there has also not been any comment about the historic district.
Right.
They haven't mentioned anything about that. So
I mean, I don't know how their plan fits into that, because I think they're within the district.
You could
Yeah.
take, you could,
Can you verify that, or?
Staff did some research into that, and we did find out that one lot was within the historic district, but it was the building that was on the lot, and that building is no longer there, has not been there. So what staff was actually going to request was if they could do some sort of memorial plaque to, or if it's something that they would consider memorial plaque to memorialize the house that was there, because it was the house, it was the architectural of the house that was on there.
And one of the other concerns would be, with restaurants, you're going to have trash, you're going to have people loitering, you're going to have people running in and running out, especially if it's a pizza place. That is going to be very problematic. If you look at the map, that's essentially having a pizza shop right in our front yard. So I strongly oppose to the granting of this special permit.
the other thing that I see happening here is that this one illustration here that goes up to 1618 Pleasant Street doesn't indicate that the Thomas Sales property goes all the way up to the grammar school. Okay, and that's basically open space. And same thing too, it's the traffic that comes from the park, and then you're gonna combine that with pizza place or whatever else. Route 101 is a very narrow road for the amount of traffic that's on there. Now, I go back so many years, I can remember when they promised there was gonna be street lighting down there, when they were doing downtown Danielson. We never got street lighting, so there's no street lighting. There's a lot of very dangerous trees that we're trying to take care of with, in conjunction, Northeast Utilities, or whatever that's called, Yankee Gas. But the bottom line is, there's trees there that are interfering with the wires that occasionally lose branches. And I put in, where there was just one on Pleasant Street, that the tree came down and it knocked out the power. And there's also power going to the LaBelle House, okay, right across 101. And it goes to a pole that is between 496 and the balance of the property. So that you have problems where a lot of the utilities have to be upgraded as is. And the traffic that's taken place, now some of the buildings on Pleasant Street have been replaced, okay, and they've been upgraded. You never had city water there, we call it city water. You've had wells, okay, so all of that is gradually being upgraded so that you're not poisoning the people that are using the space. It's too much of a project on too small a piece of property, and it doesn't take into account any of the things that we've brought up with regard to traffic flow. I mean, I can tell you there's going to be accidents. There have been accidents on 101 over the years, going back 15, 20 years ago, where they didn't have people paying attention to what was happening. And there were hit and runs, and they never found the guy. You know, I mean, there were people that died because of the traffic situation. And right now, 101 has become a major thoroughfare to Providence. And you know, it's the traffic's picked up. Coming out of the driveway now is very difficult. Look, we view this as an effort to preserve the architecture. That's what we have done. I've also built a couple of houses in East Killingly, and we have stuff in Springfield, Mass, where we're used to high volumes of tenants and businesses and stuff like that. And what happens overnight to create havoc for the people that are there already, okay?
This stretch of 101 from High Street to Pleasant is residential.
Right.
This will have a severe impact on the quality of those residents.
so that you're aware of this, I was responsible, I worked at Glass Containers, which was Knox Glass at one time when we first moved to Connecticut. Okay, because we ended up going to Marinopolis. My father was a New York cop, retired, and we bought that property, the first property, and then it gradually added to it. Now, what happened was, we have to say that in general, the traffic is picked up on 101 to where it takes quite a while to get out of the driveway. And then if somebody's trying to pull into the driveway, I have a guy there with a wrecker now who works for one of the towing companies, and he's moving around a bit, but he's also extremely cautious. Most of these buildings right now are being painted and being repaired. 16, 18, and 12 Pleasant Street, I'm looking at upgrading the electrical service in those buildings before they're filled again. Pleasant Street's been empty for years. Matter of fact, what happened was the transformer got hit by lightning on Pleasant Street, and the transformer it fell off the pole. Northeast Utilities refused to hook it up again because there was only 20 amp services in there. Now, I lived in the building myself, and we never had problems. But you also had oil burners and stuff like that over the years. And the building needed insulation and other things to make it more rentable. I mean, you're not going to rent something to anybody that's not up to code. And we know this because we do a lot of business in Springfield, Massachusetts, where we've turned around neighborhoods by taking a measured approach to what we're putting on there and what we're doing accordingly. So
I have a question about Town Farm Road. That is a cul-de-sac, isn't it? Yeah, so ultimately.
Yes, it is.
So ultimately, any traffic created by this project will end up on 101.
Right.
So which it will impact the amount of traffic, whether it be coming from that direction or coming from the other side on 101.
Yes, ma'am.
I was also.
And also, that stretch of, gosh, I don't know what direction our property is on, but on the same side as the project, there's no sidewalks from that side, from that location, all the way down to Pleasant. So you're gonna
Well-
have people either walking all over the lawns or walking in the straight, which is, again, a safety concern.
When I worked at Glass Containers before it closed, okay, I was the one that brought in Ceruzzi, and I remediated that site to get rid of the oily soil that was being added to when Glass Containers and Knox Glass just poured raw material into the ground. So what I was able to do with contacts that I had in the construction business and some of the stuff I had done, I remediated that site for Ceruzzi. And that's why we were able to, even though there was some resistance, okay, get rid of the Glass Containers because the Ceruzzi, who was from New York, wanted to build what is now, I guess they call it Owen Bell Plaza, right?
Killing the comments. We're gonna let Jim have a shot at making
But,
his.
no, wait a second.
Well, he would like to speak too.
I'd like to, I mean, I'm picking up the tab here. Please, we are. Okay, thank you.
Jim would like
I've
to
been married a
say-
long time, so I guess I can't say.
I would listen, sir.
No. I met her in
You
high
should
school.
listen, right?
Yes, that's what I do with my wife.
No, I mean, I can't take credit for anything. But what I'm telling you right now, the other day, when they started moving around on the property, they brought in this massive rig for core boring or whatever they were doing, testing, and they parked it right in front of the site that we're talking about. And this was a gigantic trailer with a bunch of equipment on the back of it, and they left it there overnight. And I don't know how he got out of his position he was in without shutting down 101. So this is good not only during the construction period, but after. There's no way you can have this density in so smaller space and not have a major impact on not only the site right there, but everything from Zips Diner all the way down to where you're heading towards Pomfret. And what's going to happen is there's going to be accidents. There's going to be wasted, if there's going to be people dumping in other people's dumpsters. It's going to be a zoo, okay? And all I can say is if a dental office, okay, I wanted to be a dentist at one time. Nobody goes to the dentist anymore until they can get some coverage, you know? But the bottom line is, I was in the medical business, medical financial, and I was also raising money for some of these types of projects, okay? And what we've done in Massachusetts is we turned around neighborhoods by being more conservative and less aggressive, you know, with what we're putting on a site and who we're dealing with, okay?
Yep.
I have to say 90% of my client base is some sort of minority or somebody that wasn't necessarily even born here. And now you're seeing this influx of people from at the border. And
All right, so I'm going to stop you there once we get to the border comment, but I just want to keep it to this application. So if you have any more comments on this,
I object to, yeah.
you don't need to know I am.
Well,
If you just want to keep it to this application, that's
the
fine.
beginning of your problems
But,
right there.
no, but we don't want to digress beyond this application. So once we get to the border, we're done.
Okay, good.
But thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Hold on.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, see this? I need a hand for my way.
Yep. Anyone else? Public comment, sir?
My name is James Weiss, 514 Hartford Pike. And I'm here to express some of the concerns. It all looks great on paper, the pictures are fantastic. However, when you put a realistic tone to it, you're gonna have giant trucks bringing in food for 5 restaurants or whatever it is. You're gonna have turning radius, it's gonna be a real traffic issue. I noticed there wasn't a lot of attention paid to the buffer aspect with the properties that are nearby. And then the other side is, you know, we've been preserving historic structures for quite some time. And this building is just another example of somebody trying to maximize the occupancy on the land with a structure that has no character at all. And so, you know, that along with the traffic pattern using the park, I really don't think it's a good fit for that particular location. They're asking for some variances about the parking in front of the building and things like that. You know, I disagree, and I think, especially in light of the traffic on 101. I've been there for 40 years, and we used to ride our bikes down 101 with no worries. You can't walk out there without a flashlight at night. You'll get, I mean, the cars and the trucks come down there, there's no speed control. And so they hit it from the traffic light at the Lowe's Killingly Commons area, and by the time they get to our driveway, they're doing 50, 60 miles an hour, and the big rigs especially. So there are times when you do have to sit at the driveway for close to 20 minutes to get out safely. You know, because we're moving equipment as well, and you know, a truck and a trailer, you know, it's just a crazy situation. So I don't think it's a good fit, and those are the reasons.
All right, thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to my brother.
Any other comments, sir?
Hi, Nick Weiss, 514 Hartford Pike. I also oppose the plan. It looks nice, the landscaping is nice. I agree that the building doesn't have much character. That kind of ties into the historic district there that we've worked for a while to maintain. So yeah, I oppose this plan, and I think something more in line with the historic integrity of the area would be better. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other comments from audience members? Nope. And is there anyone else online, Jonathan? No? Okay, just want to make sure, so I can't see the screen. Mr. Solly, do you have any comments you want to give back to any of the comments made, or?
Sure. So, I appreciate the comments raised. I know there were some concerns about the density. I just wanted to reiterate and point out again that the design does comply with the zoning regs in the village district. We are under the allowable coverage, and we're actually fortunate enough to be able to provide all above ground stormwater detention and really kind of leave still provide some quite a bit of green space. I think we're certainly happy to look at incorporating a memorial plaque for the former home that's no longer there, that was historic, and we'll be happy to work with our architectural team to see what we can do to better honor that. And again, as I mentioned before, we'll certainly take another hard look at some of the perimeter screening and see if we can even add and supplement with some more landscaping. Based on some of the comments raised. But again, and just again to reiterate from a traffic standpoint, our analysis does indicate that, where we're located and how we're managing our proposed access, that it will operate at acceptable levels of service. But again, this project will also have additional review by the Department of Transportation as part of the equipment permit process. So the commission hopefully can take some solace that there's going to be an additional set of eyes on this from a traffic standpoint, as well as part of that review process that we'll be going through with the DOT. So, with that, as I mentioned, we will be providing more comprehensive responses in response to the engineering comments, and we look forward to being back before you at an upcoming meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other comments or requests from the commission members at this point? It's going to be continued, but is there anything you want to send him back with to address the next hearing?
Well, I do have a concern, which is I understand why they want to have the exit go on to Town Farm Road. But there are so many kids playing in the fields back there, or at least they were when my kid was a kid. So I haven't been there since. But I just have a concern. I understand the necessity for some sort of exit, but I think putting it onto the road where the kids are getting in and out of the playground there is a concern to me.
Okay. John, anything?
No, other than, I think it's really a stretch without having a sidewalk on that side of the road.
All right. I think, Ms. Solly, I think it'd be helpful, maybe next meeting, if you have a traffic engineer to walk through the traffic study. That seems to be a major
Sure,
concern.
Yeah, and I can, I'm actually a professional traffic operations engineer. I hold the designation as a PTOE, so I actually am a traffic engineer. So I did, prepare or work with one of my staff to prepare the traffic report. So I can definitely dive into that a little bit more if the commission would like to hear more about it. And I think from a pedestrian access standpoint, I was looking at some of the plans, and we can certainly look at adding and enhancing some pedestrian connectivity. You can actually kind of see it on our grading plan. There's actually an existing dirt path which kind of meanders through from the park onto our site and then continues towards the parking lot. We can certainly look at adding and enhancing that as well to, maybe better encourage pedestrian connectivity from the park directly to the site instead of having to go the longer path from a pedestrian standpoint. And again, as I mentioned before, we're also going to look at, if there's a better way to maybe manage the pedestrian access either along the frontage or even crossing Hartford Pike. Again, with limited right-of-way, we may not be able to provide a sidewalk along property that we don't control, but we can certainly study that a little bit harder and talk about that more at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I do think a more detailed explanation on the ingress and egress approaches to the property would be helpful because that is a concern off of that section of 101 where it goes from, roughly 3.5 lanes down to 2 by the end of your property on the western side, and how we're gonna try to, I don't wanna say force, but, recommend people use the entrance and exit on Town Farm Road if that's what you guys are recommending. So I do have some concerns as well about the, the crossing at the to the north to the public parking, so.
Sure.
Anything else at this point? Any other public comments right now? No? And I know Historic District doesn't fall under us, but
It was the building that was historic.
understood, but it's just
No,
that,
no, no, no.
if there's something for the record, I don't know if to put that in the files regarding that, to make sure
I
that.
have a copy of everything in my file.
All right, we just don't have it, so I know it
Okay.
doesn't fall under us, but it just might be something to address the
Yeah.
concerns addressed by the public.
I also just want to remind the commission that you had, I believe last month or the month before, went through an 824 review with this easement going through the park. And I just want to remind the board that the Parks Commission was 100% behind it, so.
Yep, that was last month, because it was in the meeting minutes, and I was not here. No. Okay, anything else?
Am I allowed to say one more comment?
Yes, sir. Just gotta come back up to the mic one more time, sir. And restate your name. Yep.
Jim Weiss, 514 Hartford Pike. I understand the parks, are in favor of it. They're trying to do more traffic in the parks, more events, okay? The path that he had mentioned on his property, the brown spot, is actually a trail for most of the kids coming from the park, cutting through the properties. We have that same path going through our back lot. And it just shows that you can give them the sidewalk, but that may not be the area they're gonna take. And that goes along with the traffic. You have one traffic pattern going back out onto 101. If there's a train down below and that traffic's backed up, you're gonna see that to-go line circle around the building. I mean, take a look at any Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, or, Starbucks. Baker's Dozen, perfect example. The line goes out onto the road. Dunkin' Donuts, same thing over there at Bell Park. So, what looks good in a picture, and, we're gonna try and meet all these standards, doesn't always work. And I'm concerned about, the people that are on the other side of that. Where are we in terms of our protection for these certain events? And when they have a big event at a park, guaranteed that's gonna be loaded with cars, and people are gonna be exiting any way they can, so.
That's not gonna change.
No, so, I don't think it's a good fit. They're maximizing the potential occupancy, 66 parking spots. I mean, that's quite a stretch, but, all right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it, because
Well-
this is just too bizarre.
As long as it's not duplicitous, sir.
Excuse me?
As long as it's not the same stuff we've heard.
No,
Yep.
I'm like pushing 80 here, you know what I mean? But the bottom line is that, I've been married to this woman, for 50 years. Met her in high school, okay? Now, she's kind of running the show here. A lot of this
As she
stuff is
should.
in her name. No, the women,
Yep.
once they take control. And all I'm saying is, this is too large. If they wanted to do something in one building with adequate parking, it's still gonna have trouble with no sidewalk out in front, no street lighting, and they're coming through town now at about 60 miles an hour. It's supposed to be a 35 zone. And they don't stop them. I'm not saying pull people over and give everybody a ticket, but they're headed to Rhode Island. This was never the main road to Rhode Island, Originally, it was supposed to be Route 6. And again, I've only been around, the area for, 50 years. And then most of the development I've done personally, I built a couple of houses in East Killenly on Pond Road. So that's the type of thing I like to see done. And I've got another one on Riley Chase Road, okay, that I put together. It's out in the woods. I have a bunch of land up there. I haven't built it out for a number of different reasons, okay? Density, the school system and the pressure that's on the school system, but also too, to be able to turn around and put somebody into a building that they're not gonna lose to foreclosure, see? So in Springfield, I turned around.
Sir,
May-
let's keep it to this partial, not the other ones, but
Wait a
that's okay.
second, yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
all right.
I gotta.
Yep.
Your wife's left.
No, they're gonna put the cuffs on.
You're good, sir, thank you.
All I'm saying is if they scale this thing back, let's say a dentist wanted to build an office, and he's willing to take the liability of people getting in and out, one thing, fine. There's a couple of dental offices that have been set up over on Route 12 or whatever it is. Okay, the bottom line is that, I don't know if they own the building or they're renting the space or whatever else. But the net result is that that whole area would have never been what it is right now if I didn't bring in Ceruzzi, who had most of the shopping centers from New York all the way up to where we finished there. And if I didn't work at Glass Containers when it was Knox Glass and be able to see what they did to the site. I mean, they were pouring raw oil.
Yep, we got that, sir. We heard that already earlier, so.
Yeah,
But thank you
so-
thank you very much. I don't want to cut you off. Unless you have something new for this application, we're good for now.
Well, you know, where I'm coming from, it's just back to if they can get one building.
Yep.
And there's no way you're gonna get that number of parking people over there. And getting them on the site and getting them off the site, there's gonna be accidents. And what's happening with 101 now, with the 60-mile-an-hour stuff, is somebody's gonna get hit, you know, and die, okay?
Yes, sir.
It
I
happened
think
years
hopefully the applicant's heard your concerns and he'll look at, hopefully trying to address them and address the traffic flow for us.
I'll tell you, the other
But-
thing, they had this massive machine over there the other day, and the guy came to me and says, get your sign off of 101, where it says Dayville Historic District. That the historic district was never established until I established it to save the architecture. Nothing to do profit-wise. And what's happening is, they wanted to take the sign down, because what happens is, the specifics of what we are dealing with here is, it was designed, what happened in those days, maybe 20 years ago, was to turn around and try to preserve the architectural character of the town of Killenly.
Yep, yes, sir, but we want to keep it to this application.
We have a long agenda,
No,
and this is only the first issue, so we would like.
And I appreciate your patience with me.
No.
As you can see, I am a little bit of a bull in a china shop.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time and your
I'm not
comments.
used to
We
how-
appreciate
no,
it.
no, I'm
So.
not used to, okay, I
So.
gotta get out of here.
Yeah. Hopefully you
No.
have the car keys.
If I have to go, if I have to go to the hospital tomorrow, you'll know why.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me stand up here. This is what happens when you get a little older.
All right.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Sorry
sir.
if I ruffled any feathers. But
No, sir. Thank you very much for your comments.
kind of my norm.
Have a good night.
Ed Grandelski, Upper Maple Street, also town council member. I don't know what I can talk on or not. My issues are more with the town property side than the actual development itself. I am not in favor of the driveway in the back. I think it's a public hazard to the kids that are using Owen Bell Park. I don't care what kind of sidewalks are put on it, what kind of stop signs are put on it, but if you can say no truck traffic, maybe, but you can't. We have a parking lot that this driveway is bisecting. It is, I can't believe, from my standpoint, that we're even doing this. Right now, people are gonna be used to, when people drop their kids off, if the parking lots are filled up in the main area and they're out in the outer area, the kids just run across the road. I don't think the parents were gonna care too much. Now, that's gonna change the whole nature of that particular area. And then there's a sidewalk, I guess, along the one side of the driveway. Well, who in their right mind as a kid, I know I wouldn't use that sidewalk. I would use the sidewalk that's closer to the kids' area, to the splash pads or to the skate park. That's where the sidewalk should be, where it's actually going to be used. We're putting in this, I think, I can't tell for sure, but this long sidewalk that's going to go to the entrance of the park. Whatever. All I look at is when, many years ago, when the town of Brooklyn, they put a sidewalk on South Main Street because it's in front of the houses. People are right there. Where is the new sidewalk now? It's right on Route 6. They didn't put it in the right place, but they have to put something later on. I don't know. In this case, I'm having a hard time with this because this is basically two projects. The right-of-way and the driveway in the back is a separate issue, more concerning with the town council, and then the front is from, it's not like one project, it's two separate entities. And, but like I said, and then on the particular driveway, are there gonna be concerns as, are we gonna require insurance on that particular thing? If they have to, or if there should be a maintenance bond. So
again, Mr. Grant, you're getting into another approval that's not part of us.
Well, that's
right?
where,
So
okay.
For us, if they have an access agreement in place over that property, then that's for the applicant, that's for us here.
Okay, well,
So if that's what they would need to provide us, is an access agreement across that property for this application.
So that's
Right.
most of my concern, but
Yep.
I,
Yep. But no, the safety concerns are valid. I'm not, those
Right, that's
are
my
absolutely,
biggest-
those are concerns that were brought up here. But as far as maintenance of it, bonding, all that, as long as there's an access agreement in place,
Okay.
then that is what this application would require.
well, like I say, the
Right.
the
And that
safe-
has not been provided to us yet.
Okay.
At least I didn't see it in the package.
Well, I don't
So-
think that's ready yet on the other
So,
side.
so again, that's a requirement. They need to provide us an access agreement across that property they do not own. or
But it
control.
was like, it seemed like because it was that 924 approval, which was done at a separate time than this,
That was an 824
Or 824, okay, I'm
referral, not approval, but a referral.
or whatever. I mean, I was so confused with all of that, and I've been with Jonathan trying to figure all this out, and
Yep.
maybe I would have paid more attention, but I wasn't aware that that was, before you guys a couple of
Yep.
weeks ago.
Yep, concerns
So-
are noted, Dell, thank you.
So that's where my concern is, the development itself, let the powers to be, however, do what they have to do. The only other issue would be the box culvert. Maybe not so much on the property itself, but what is the capacity of the box culvert downstream?
Yep. And that is one of the town engineer's comments and concerns. to be
We've
addressed.
had the nightmare that we had with the box culvert going through the center of town here. 100+ years old. Nobody knows where it is. Similar situation with that. Nobody knows where it is. We don't know capacity, but we're developing properties upstream, and the poor people down below are on the receiving end. So I guess that's all I have.
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? Hearing none. Any commissioner comments, staff, anything?
All I want to tell you is that, again, the 824 Parks and Recreation Commission approved it. We're in agreement with it. We went through the 824 review. And when you continue it, we need to know if he's going to be continuing it to our August 21st meeting, or if he's going to be continuing it to our September meeting. Do you think you can have everything by August is what I'm looking at?
Mr. Solly, August or September?
I think we can certainly respond to the engineering comments, and have them, resubmitted so we could be on the August meeting. I believe, I'm not not sure the timing for the council easement or the access easement, or what you need for that.
So again, you'll need the access agreement and DOT permit, hopefully, at least their review or a comment letter.
The DOT permit, the DOT typically, their process now is they won't really go through the encroachment permit process until they have local approvals in hand.
Yeah, at least we need to know it's been submitted and at least it's under review, some sort of, I mean, we've always required documentation before.
can certainly
Sewer and water agreements or approvals, are those in hand or applied for?
We've started the discussions with WPCA.
Yep.
We don't have the permits in hand, but we can certainly provide documentation of where we are from a coordination standpoint.
Yep, so a lot of that's required.
If they've applied for it, if they give us like the front page and signature page of the application.
Right, but we need to show that they have it in the application, so. All right. Last call? Nope. All right. Got a motion to continue to the August 21 meeting?
Motion.
All right, motion by Verga, second. Second by John. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Continued.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Yes, sir. This goes here.
My head's gonna explode.
I can't say, my mic's on. I was gonna say something about digressing and stare at you, but that's okay. Unfinished business, right? Yes. Special permit application 23-1308, Craft Group Big Wise, continued to July, August, we're in July. Continued to August to July, next. Zone text and map change application 23-1310, Town of Killingly RE National Flood Insurance Program. We've got 3 sections. We got A, Federal Emergency Management Flood Maps, B, Town of Killingly Zoning Regs, Section 440 Flood Hazard Districts, and C, Town of Killingly Subdivision Article 4, Section 20 Floodplains. So we'll deal with A first. We have a recommendation on the review, acceptance, and approval of the flood maps. So we need someone to say, yes, I want the flood maps to be part of our rules. And an effective
Fine.
date.
Yes, I will do that for you. However, I do have a question for Anne Marie.
Okay, we'll do that when we get to discussion after the
All right.
motion. So you have a motion to adopt and,
Yes.
oh my God.
Do you want me to read the
Adopt and
motion?
incorporate the firm into the regular zoning map layers. Said adoption become effective Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m. I think that motion's made by Verga. I sound just like her. Right?
Thank you.
Do you motion that?
Yeah.
All right, do I have a second? Anyone? John, thank you. All right, now we have discussion.
The question for me is.
It's, the flood map. I'm just wondering, I was watching, I have friends in Lower
Don't-
Vermont.
Don't digress to Vermont.
No. I'm talking about floodwater.
Okay. Just,
So, what I saw was alarming, and so I'm wondering what level of, climate's changing, there's gonna be more powerful rainstorms, we're already seeing that around here, and I'm just wondering whether the town of Killingly is arming itself up to be able to handle more water.
I am sure our DOT director, our emergency management director, and our engineering director all have been working on something similar to that, because they deal with it when it happens. So I'm sure that they see what's been happening in the local communities, even in our own state, and I am sure that they're looking forward to it. Not looking forward to it, but looking at it for the future.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, we have a motion, a second, any discussion? No? All right. We're supposed to do roll call? No, we're good, right?
Yeah,
All right,
roll call.
roll call, please, with a big heavy sigh.
Verga Lawrence,
What are we voting on?
Your motion to approve the map.
Okay, I say yes to my motion.
John Sarantopoulos,
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf,
Yes.
Michael Huco,
Yes.
and Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item B. So,
Item B is the Town of Kinley zoning regulations, section 440 flood hazard districts.
Yep.
with the revisions and edits suggested by the state NFIP coordinator.
Read it.
Go for it.
Make a motion to adopt and incorporate section 440, the flood hazardous district as revised, and the said adoption to become effective on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
All right, motion by Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Nope, roll call, please.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf.
Yes?
Michael Huco.
Yes.
Diego Lawrence.
Yeah.
and Brian Card.
Yes. Thank you. Item C.
You want to do it again?
Okay.
All right. You did it so good
Make a
last time.
motion to be made to adopt and incorporate Article 4, Section 20 floodplain into the Town of Kinley subdivision regulations. Said adoption to be effected on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
Thank you. Mike, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second to approve. Any discussion? There being none, could we have roll call, please?
Matthew Wendorf.
Yes?
Michael Huco.
Yes.
Diego Lawrence.
Yes.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
and Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion
right.
carries.
Thank you. Zone text and map change in application 23-1311, Borough of Danielson, National Flood Insurance Program. We have three parts. A, incorporation of the FEMA maps. B, Borough of Danielson zoning regs, section 1, flood damage prevention regulations. And C, section 460 flood hazard district. So we will do with A first. We have a motion to accept the flood maps. Please.
Yes.
With?
Where is it written now? Okay, I make a motion to agree with what the staff suggests, to adopt and incorporate the FIRM into our regular zoning map layers. That said adoption to become effective on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Awesome.
Well done,
All
Barry.
right, motion is second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Michael Huco.
Yes.
Diego Lawrence.
Yeah.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf.
Yes.
Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Item B, Borough of Danielson zoning regs, section 1, flood damage prevention regulations. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt and incorporate Section 1 flood damage prevention regulations as revised, and that said adoption become effective on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Diego Lawrence.
Yes.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf.
Yes.
Michael Huco.
Yes.
and Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, section 460 flood hazard district.
I'd like to make a motion
Excellent.
to adopt and incorporate Section 460 flood hazard districts, 460.1 general requirements as revised and presented, and that said adoption become effective on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf.
Yes.
Michael Huco.
Yes.
Diego Lawrence.
Yes.
and Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent. All right, zone text change application 23-1315, Town of Kinley zone text, zone change to add more definitions of uses, et cetera. Town of Kinley zoning regs, Article 3 definitions, Section 310. Do we have a motion?
I don't see it on here, but I'll make a
Okay.
motion to
No,
adopt the
it's number-
definitions
it's number
as
4.
presented to us.
5 and 6, but that's.
5 and 6.
All right.
5 and 6.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, but. Sure. Adopt and integrate the revised definitions to the Town of Killingly zoning regulations, Section 310 definitions, and also accept the text change and make it effective August 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Nope. I want to say all in favor. Roll call, please.
John Saratopoulos?
Yes.
Matthew Wendorf?
Yes.
Michael Hugo?
Yes.
Virgil Lawrence?
Yes.
And Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 5, special permit application 23-1314, CBD Keelingley LLC has been continued to August 21st, 2023, not at 12:01 a.m. Subdivision application 23-1312, Nathan Vanderschwag, 134 Putnam Road, JS map 15, lot 3, approximately 16 acres, rural development, subdivided property into 2 lots for family purposes. Lot already received its free split. Preparing that whole time. I was sleeping. You were laughing. You could have been prepared, done.
I want to make too much noise. All right.
Looks like a very complicated project.
Wicked. For the record, my name is Paul Archer with Archer Surveying, representing the Vanderswags. It's a family plot. Now, if I get up here, I can show you here. The free split was taken in 1980 back, and it was another piece of parcel here that the 2 parcels got split into 17.6 acres each. So right now, the free split is gone, and we're now in front of you to do a 2-lot subdivision. The property is 17 acres. It also has a small piece of property that's up in here that is Putnam. So it's on Putnam Road, but it has a small parcel that's there. The small parcel we're protecting, we're saying is going to stay with the existing house. So what we're cutting off is not in effect gonna create an illegal parcel in Putnam. So everything we're doing is based in the town of Putnam. So what we're proposing is 13.5 acres is the rear lot, 4.1 acres is the front lot. It's gonna have an unobstructed 50-foot right-of-way coming in here, which they're basically gonna share the existing driveway with their parents as it is, but there will be an unobstructed. There's already power to the back place, so what we're proposing is with the existing house here where the parents is, the son wants to build a house right here next to it. We have health department approval. There was no wetlands on the property at all, so we didn't have to go through wetlands. And it's very, very simple. It's a family piece of land that the kids are gonna take care of their parents.
And the right-of-way exists already?
There is an existing right-of-way, you can see it better on this sheet here, that there's a 25-foot that goes to this one.
Yep.
25-foot, and they both share the 25 feet, okay? So, but we're showing an extra 25 feet going here onto the parents' property, so that gives us the 50-foot unobstructed there.
Okay. Because this says 30 feet? That's where you caught me off guard.
30 feet,
That's what it says here.
50.
I can't, it's so small, even my glasses, I can't see it. It's pointing to that little sliver.
It's a 50-foot unobstructed right-of-way.
What's this say? Can you see it?
You sound like me. You're getting old too.
What's that
How
say?
about this?
Yeah, but what's that say right there? Yeah, okay.
I couldn't read it.
It says 50.
Does it say proposed 50-foot right-of-way? In favor of lot 5A?
It does.
It's pointing to that extra sliver, that's why I just wanted to make sure. Okay. All right, so it's 50-foot total right-of-way. Okay, so I want to make sure. I'm good. All right, thank you. 30, 50, looks small
It
print.
all looks the same.
It all looks the same, that's with glasses on. All right.
And the part about this is it being a family thing, we don't have to deal with the open space fee,
Mhm.
because it's being granted to the family.
So what what happens in the future when some member of the family, you know, a few generations from now want to,
Basically what the state statute, it's written in the front here, basically says that
If you can read it.
if it's sold within 10 years, okay, they're supposed to pay, that's when they can get it. But if the family stays there for 10 years, it's open space. But if they sell it within a 10-year period, they're supposed to pay an open space fee.
Sorry, Jonathan's zooming in for me, so you can see. He's just mocking me now. But any questions for Mr. Archer on this?
I just don't want to make a question, but I want to make sure. That's on the plans, but is that also that should also be in the deed, correct?
That should be in the
comment?
deed, correct.
Okay, thank you.
No questions? Nope, anything? Okay, do we have a motion on this? Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve special permit application 23 dash.
Subdivision,
Oh.
subdivision application. Number 6.
How am I on?
uh,
Am I on?
you're
20,
on
23.
page
There it is.
Yeah.
2 of 3 at the
Yes.
bottom.
A motion to approve subdivision application 23-1312
Yes.
as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, any discussion? There being none, roll call, please.
Matthew Wendorf,
Yes.
Michael Huco,
Yes.
Edgar Lawrence.
Yes.
John
Yes.
Saratopoulos.
Yes.
And Brian Card.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. New business, special permit application number 23-1317, Canterbury Holdings, LLC, Upper Maple LLC landowner, 25 Colonial Drive, JS map 113, lot 29, -6, 6.57 acres, low density zone, application for planned residential development, IRL, consisting of 16 two-family residential developments, Town of Killeen zoning, section 410.2.2, low density PRD, section 570, planned residential development, section 700, special permit, and section 470, site plan. I assume the application is complete, because we're reviewing and scheduling for these, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't put that, but that's, yeah. Any questions,
You're
comments?
to be receiving these and
Yes.
scheduling these.
Receiving and scheduling for August?
August 21st.
I'm going to be absent that.
There's only 5 seconds. Any questions, comments? No? Could we have a motion to receive and schedule for August 21st, 2023?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, a special permit application 23-1318, Jessica O'Brien, DBA Evergreen Farms, Jessica O'Brien and Michael Shabinas, if I got that right, landowners, and I apologize if it's wrong, 204 Hartford Pike, GI Mass 108, lot 34, approximately 5.035 acres. Low density zone, conversion of existing agricultural building to an event and wedding facility, Town of Killeen zoning, section 420.2.2P, wedding event venues, effective 7/17/23, just under the wire, at 12:01 a.m., section 700, special permit, section 470, site plan. All right, application complete.
And I do owe you guys hard copies of those updated regulations. So I will have them available to you before the meeting if you want them sooner. But otherwise, we're going to send you a digital copy of them probably before the close of this week. You'll have those.
So just give me a general notion of where 204 Hartford Pike is. What's near that?
It's right. It's pretty much right across the street from the Dubliner, a little bit.
From the what?
The Dubliner sandwich shop.
I'm unfamiliar with
It's
that.
so 101.
Yeah.
Behind this property is KMS.
Killing Intermediate.
KIS.
Oh, okay.
KIS.
Yeah, okay.
This property and some of the surrounding areas was one of the proposed properties for the new high school at one point. I don't know if you guys remember looking at that for the proposed location. But this one was,
Some stuff you just gotta erase.
yeah, it didn't go through. So, but they previously had an approval for a self-storage adaptive reuse of an agricultural building. So this is the same agricultural building, but a different property owner
And a different project,
and a different project.
because the storage thing didn't work out.
The person sold the property.
Yeah.
All right, application complete? Yep. Any questions, comments? No? Anything? All right, could we have a motion to accept for a public hearing on August 21st, 2023?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to receive and accept, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Adoption of meeting minutes. You got the workshop meeting minutes of June 19th, 2023.
That is here, it's after
No, he wasn't here, is what he's saying. No.
it was just put in out of order, that's all.
Yep. Do we have a motion to accept?
Well, I haven't done my bit of housekeeping on it. Weeding out the misspellings.
Too late.
I
Second.
know.
Any errors, omissions, corrections? No?
We're gonna just floss over that.
I'm asking, would you like the delay?
No.
Okay. All right, could we have a motion and a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against?
I abstain.
Nays and abstentions, you have two, just because we weren't here. I abstain and you abstain, so. That's because she was drunk in a bar. Hope she was watching on TV. Regular meeting minutes, June 19th, 2023. Could I have a motion to accept those?
I'll make the motion.
Excellent. Do we have a second? Second. All right. Any errors, omissions, corrections? There being none, could I have a motion to accept? Say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, we had a motion. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Abstentions, say abstain.
I abstain
Matthew and
as
I
well.
abstain. Thank you. It's past my bedtime. Workshop, business part. We have clean and dirty versions in our package. As an FYI for next meeting, or just?
Well, I just want to go over it really quickly,
Yep.
and it all depends if you want to go forward. What I put in your packets was you do have a version that has all nice bright colors in it, red, yellows, all that.
Mhm.
That is how everything looked after I went through all of Brian's comments, all of Attorney Siemens' comments, all of staff's comments. So this is how it looks. So, and I know that Virga likes a clean copy, so I then created a clean copy.
For posterity, that's important.
But I do want the commission to be aware that there was an area where I have, some asked me to move dance, like certain things, to permitted uses versus special permitted uses.
Mhm.
And that will have to be a commission decision to let me know if that's what you want to do. And again, on 7 of 8, I put in a note in there that all the following was part of the original regulations. If the commission wants to change any, it should say wording, please let staff know. So if you'd look through that, if you have any comments, or I know that,
was
yes,
gonna-
the attorney, Evan Seaman is here.
I was gonna say, we have some fine gentlemen who've lasted 2 hours with us. Do you guys want to speak to these regulations or have any comments on them? If so, we need to open the floor.
Yes, we're opening the floor.
Yes? You do? Well, we still gotta open the floor, so we can, okay.
Very brief.
Can we have a motion to open the floor?
A motion to open.
To the public?
Second.
I was gonna say brief, for a brief comment, but if you wanna just, all right, motion second, all in favor say aye. Nope, all in favor say aye, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, there you go,
Yeah.
we're legit.
Thank you. For the record, Evan Seaman, Robinson Nicole, and very brief reviewing the changes. They look good and don't really have much to say. If there are questions the commission has, happy to address them, but I thank you to staff for providing these and letting us review them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So, does the commission have any comments on, or any direction they want to give staff on any of the questions they had as far as those moving the permanent uses or any of the existing rules that were left towards the back end? I thought we'd put some of it in. Yes, no, maybe? Or you want to wait till August?
Do you want, okay, now the other thing is, do you want to set up a special workshop for this in August at 6 o'clock to go through this, to possibly set for, when we have the meeting in August, we can set it for a public hearing? Is that what we want to do?
I would recommend because otherwise August is pretty full, that's what it sounds like. With the previous application and the other ones coming in, I would do a 6 o'clock one to walk through these really quickly, because I think they'll be straightforward.
Okay.
Finish them up, be done with them, and get them on August to put them towards public comment, whatever.
For a public
Right.
hearing for maybe in September or October.
Right, to receive it, right, and then the regular meeting,
Mhm.
then, yeah,
To receive it in September, then
Yep.
schedule in October.
that's what I would recommend.
All
But
right.
I do agree, thank you for all the edits. I know I gave you guys a lot of red lines, so I appreciate you taking consideration of those, so.
We went through one.
Wow.
We had your list, we had the attorney's list.
All right, so this one gets saved.
Just to clarify, we're looking to potentially receive it in August after
Well,
the workshop?
Can we receive it after the
Yeah, you
workshop?
can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be many more edits. I mean, there's a couple things might
Yeah.
get moved here or there, but I think
If
those
it's-
can be
If
done.
it's very minor, we could look to receive, I think, in August.
That'd be my recommendation, just move it forward, but.
Okay. So
Okay.
we'll put it on the schedule for that.
So, and if it gets held up at 6, because Matt, really wants to go through it like crazy, then.
Yep, we can blame Matt.
Well, blame Matt. All right. Thank you, guys. You want to stay? No.
We're almost done.
We are, yeah. I'm gonna, correspondence, letter dated June 16th, 2023, from GDIT to CSC. Notice of exempt modification 79 Putnam Pike, AT&T Tower.
If you have any questions, the full application's in my office, but I just like to give you the letter so you know what's going on. Okay?
right.
And then the other one was just the zoning practice, which is the monthly magazine that's put out by the APA.
Yes, interesting title for that one. Zoning, inland wetlands watercourse agents report.
So ZBA didn't have a meeting, we didn't have a quorum, but there is an application, just a small setback request. Wetlands did meet, and all applications were moved forward, as approved with conditions, nothing major that would even come here. But we have an open slate, so we're waiting to receive more applications, hopefully for next month. Otherwise, I have nothing.
Excellent, thank you. How do we get those shirts?
Danielson Surplus. You want some commission
What
shirt?
does it say?
It's
Town of
Town of
Killenly
Killenly
Planning.
Planning.
Oh,
That'd be nice if we showed up an official shirt, right?
Yeah.
I'm
But-
thinking.
We can check our budget.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good time to ask, it's at the beginning.
Yeah.
but I'd want something that matches items in my wardrobe.
Economic
Okay.
Development Director's report.
There's a public hearing, August 8th. The town council will be discussing a purchase and sales agreement of 125 Alexander Parkway. If you want to learn more about the agreement, it's on the town website. And the Small Business Academy will start September 12th and run 6 weeks, Tuesday night from 6 to 8.
All right, excellent, thank you. Any questions for EDC Director? Nope.
I
Maybe?
just gave John, you can just take one turn. Your liaison from the town council could not make it tonight, so she sent in a written report. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask staff.
Can you read it into the record for us?
You want me to read it into
Oh.
the record?
That was not a motion.
I figured if you got it in handwriting, you'd be fine. So we've just passed out that report, and you can, go through it.
All right, thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion.
It better be adjournment.
Yes, a motion to adjourn.
Excellent, second?
Second.
All right, We're going to do roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.